everyone, and welcome to today's class. Today, we will discuss digital literacy and the importance of virtual education. So, what is virtual or online education? It's a form of education where students use their home technology resources and the internet to learn. For many people, online education have become popular because of its benefits. Most well-known universities around the globe offer online educations, from continuing education programs to doctorate level programs. Why is online education important? We use technology as a part of our daily lives. Paying a bill, buying online, booking vacations, etc. And now the internet has changed the way in which we communicate. As teachers, we need to ensure that we are preparing our students to live and work in the real world. That means we need to be digitally literate to teach them online. To do this, it is necessary that we know the importance of online technologies to the way we already teach. Once we know that, we can affirm that we teach our students in a way that will be beneficial and relevant for them. So, what are the so-called benefits from online education? Well, let's see. Well, first of all, more organized learning sequences. As you are online, the learning and the lessons need to be more scaffolding than in an in-situ program. That's why organization is key in online education. Instant feedback and grading. Feedback is necessary and it can be given written or oral. And in online education, feedback is vital because as they are working autonomously, they need a clearer guide to know how to proceed. Administration of workload. As you study online, you're usually studying on your own, so you become a master in distributing your tasks during the week, the month, or even during academic year. International validity. As we mentioned before, most top universities offer distant learning programs, and they also take and admit other programs from different places of the world. Knowledge is universal and internet too, so you can study from wherever you are. Interaction with people via digital devices. The fact that you are studying on the distance doesn't mean that you don't have a social life or a social network of people doing the same that you're doing. You can communicate via WhatsApp, via Skype, via Zoom, or even via institutional paths with teachers and students. One of the best benefits from virtual education is lower fee costs. Virtual programs are generally lower in economics than in campus ones. That is a good thing because we can save money for other stuff. And finally, flexibility of schedule and autonomy. You can work at your own pace whenever you are, following your interests and doing it at your own rhythm. Let's talk now about how to teach or how to deliver a great online class. The first thing you need to do is think about a neat setting that appeals to your students. That means find a nice and clean background with no distractions. Think about your face angles and a good camera resolution and good sound. You don't want your students to see your nostrils or to get distracted with your cat walking in the background. Practice your class before you record it so you are confident about what you're saying. It is relevant that you include visual aids such as presentations, slides, videos, all these devices that offer you the possibility to share your screen. You can also invite experts, people that you know that are an authority in the topic. They can join the conversations and be a useful resource for your students. Provide effective feedback to your students. It is not only about immediate and clear, it is about being effective. Is it useful? Are your students following you? Do they understand everything that you say? Do they have the corrections clear? And finally, applying TPR strategies to the classroom. So, what is TPR? That stands for Total Physical Response, and that means use your body language to complement that what you're saying. If you want them to listen, put your hand on your ear so they know that you have to listen, for example. Or ask them to move with commands like stand up, sit down, open your book, now let's jump. It depends on the audience and the topics that you are teaching. So let's discuss how to structure your online class. Take into account that an online class it is not the same as an in-situ class. Although you're talking about the same topics or even using the same material, the context is different. So I'm going to give you some tips so you can start organizing your classes. Of course, you can adapt them according to the ages and classes you're teaching to. The first thing that I recommend is do an ice-breaking activity. An ice-breaking activity, as its name tells, is an activity, a very informal activity that you are going to do in order to have your students' attention and to feel a little bit closer to them. It is important that these kind of activities have nothing to do with academics. Just be personal in this case, like what did you do last weekend? What did you eat this morning? What are you gonna do next weekend? Number 2, do a warm-up activity. The difference between an ice-breaking activity and a warm-up activity is that this second one has to do with academics. This is more focused on the topics that you're going to study or the topics that you have been studying for a while with your students. This can be a short reading about a topic they already know so you can check previous knowledge, or maybe asking a question that is related to the topic. Number 3, start giving input. In the field of teaching a language, the word input means information. So that means that after having their trust, after having checking the previous knowledge, you're actually going to start teaching today's topic. For this, you can use flashcards, visual aids, presentation, readings, songs, every kind of material that you have planned in order to make your class interesting. Remember, in the input part is when you focus on aspects such as teaching grammar, teaching vocabulary, and helping them use, for example, playing some listening activities, doing some reading activities, etc. Number 4. Here is when you do your main activity. For example, a reading. So this activity is going to be divided in 3 sub-activities: the pre-task, the during task, and the post-task. In the pre-task, you can probably read the text groupally, have them reading in silence, and when they all have read, choose one of your students and ask him to read it aloud. What are they supposed to do with that text? For example, answer some questions to verify reading comprehension. These questions could be more inferential rather than literal. And once they have done that, it is time to socialize the questions. Once you have done that, it is time to move to our next and last stage, post-task activity. So, when your students have already answered the questions, especially if you're working with kids, you can have them doing something related to the text. For example, a drawing about what they read. Once your main activity has finished, we can move to our next step, the assessment. When we think about assessment, we immediately think about evaluation. However, It doesn't mean that you are going to do an exam or a test or even to put a grade. An assessment activity can be like a game or a final debate or having your students do a decalogue or having your students talking about a similar story that they know. Any concluding activity to finish these lessons that let you know that your students learn. Or for example, this is the perfect time to do a pop-up quiz or a Kahoot or a Quizlet or something that have them playing happily but also demonstrating that they learned something. And to finish with the lesson, we can give a homework. But it is important that if you're working with kids, it is not a long homework. Before we finish today's lesson, I would love to recommend you some resources that I personally have used with my students and they are really useful in class. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you apply everything in your classes and you enjoy teaching. Bye!